Hi, Shelley from Spin Cushions here, and this video is all about how to make this pattern called Maine from my Siren's Atlas collection. All of these popcorn stitches that you can see are made using my lazy method, where there's no taking your hook out and reinserting it to make them. We just start with a ruffled round and then we pull it all together so it's nice and tight. So I'm going to make mine all in one colour. I'll let you know if you need to do anything different, if you want to be changing colours at the end of each round. But let's get started. Okay, now with this one, we're going to be we'll have 40 stitches in our first round. So a magic circle really is the best option to start with. It's just too hard, because we want a nice tight centre, and it's just too hard to do that into a chain space. You'd end up with a really big hole. So instead we're going to use a magic circle. It just works best for this pattern. So the first thing we need to do is chain 3 starting chain or false stitch, and then we're going to do 4 stitches trebles UK, doubles US. Oops. 1, can you hear my friendly bird tapping on the window? Tapping its own reflection, really. 3, 4. We need 5 in total, including our first chain or false stitch. Okay, then we are going to chain 1 and we're going to do 5 stitches, and that's our repeat. We're going to do that 8 times in total, so we're going to have 40 stitches in groups of 5 separated by a 1 chain space. So it's going to be very, very ruffled at the end of this round, but the next one will fix it up. So I will go away and do all of those stitches and chains and come back and show you what to do next. Okay, so I have done 8 groups of 5 separated by a 1 chain space. As you can see, there's lots and lots of stitches there. Now I'm not doing chain 1, I'm going to join with a double crochet at the end. I'm just going to pull up a loop so I can pull this circle tight. Just want to make sure it's all not twisted before you start pulling, and make sure your tail isn't twisted around the circle either. Pull it all tight. And you can see what I mean by it being very, very ruffled. But it's okay. Alright, so pull it tight and make sure it's to the back. Okay. Now we're going to join with a double crochet UK or single crochet US to our first stitch, whether that's your starting chain or a false stitch. Now what that does, it's as if we've finished in that 1 chain space before the group, because what we're going to do now is we're going to gather all of these 5 stitches together into popcorns by inserting our hook in on this side and out the 1 chain space on the other side. So there's 5 stitches there, and we're going to do a double crochet UK or single crochet US, like that. Then we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and again we're going back into that same 1 chain space we came out of before, but this time we're going out the other side of that second group of 5. And we're going to chain 3, and that's what we're doing all the way around. So you can see I've already got 2 little popcorns made out of this mess that my circle has come loose a bit. So let's pull that tight again. You will have to weave that end in very, very well. So I'll just show you one more time. So you find the 1 chain space on this side and out the other side. Done. And chain 3. So I'll do that all the way around and show you what happens next. Okay, now that I've done all of my repeats, you can see I've got this nice tight little circle of 8 popcorns. all I need to do now is chain 3 and join with a slip stitch to that first stitch that gathered everything together, which is here. Get my hook in. No, it's not, it's here. That was a chain. I wonder if that was tricky. Okay, so that is round 2 done, and we now have popcorns. So as I said before, make sure you weave that end in really, really well, because with all those stitches putting pressure on, it's going to come undone fairly easily. All right, round 3. Now, we're going to be making little front post V's with a stitch in the middle of them around each of these stitches that made the popcorns. So how we do that, we're going to chain 1. This is if you're doing the same colour. If you are changing colours, then do a standing front post stitch around one of these gathering stitches. But I've done chain 1, and we're going to do front post treble UK, front post WS around that stitch that below. Then we're going to do a stitch into that stitch that we joined that the slip stitches into. So you might need to, it's a bit fiddly this first one, but the other ones are not so bad. Oops, I've gone into the chain space. Sorry, it's hard to see through the camera. There it is. Into that stitch that we slip stitched into. Then we're going to do another front post stitch around this same stitch. So this little stitch down below, above the popcorn, is going to have 2 front post stitches around it with a stitch into it. Okay. So then we're going to chain 1, and in that 3 chain space, we're going to do 5 trebles UK, doubles US. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now we're going to chain 1, and around this next stitch we're going to do what we did at the start, a front post stitch around it, then a stitch in it. So you might need to pull that front post stitch down a bit to be able to see where, and also pull those ones aside to be able to see your stitch to work into. And there it is there. So it is a little bit fiddly this round, but you'll get it, I'm sure. And then a front post stitch around that same stitch again. Then we chain 1, do our 5 stitches again, and then we do our little 3 stitches in the one all the way around. I'll come and show you what happens next. Okay, repeat's done. You can see this is another round that's quite roughly, but don't worry about that at this point. It will all work out. And we're just going to join with a slip stitch to our first front post stitch. Okay, all right. Now, this is one of the very rare times I will tell you to slip stitch to the next stitch to start the next round, but you can see that that's the middle of like our little V. That's where we need to be to start the next round. So, slip stitch to that stitch. Now we're going to chain 3 starting chain or false stitch, and then do 4 trebles UK or doubles US in the same space that we slip stitched into. 1, oops, sorry, 2, 3, 4. So we'll have 5 stitches in total above that little V and that middle stitch. Then we are going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, there's a lot of skipping here, but basically we're skipping everything in between. We're only working into those stitches in the middle of the V's. So we're skipping that front post stitch, a chain space, 5 stitches, a chain space, a front post stitch. So the only stitches we're working into are those middle ones in between that front post V's. And we're going to do 5 trebles UK, 5 doubles US into each one. And there'll be chain 5 in between each group. So it looks complicated, but really it's not very at all. 1, 2, 3, 4, oops. 5. So you do that all the way around, and I'll show you what happens next. Okay, I've done my repeats, so what we need to do now is join with a slip stitch to our first stitch, or starting chain. Actually, I beg your pardon. We're just going to chain 4, and we're going to join with a double crochet UK, single crochet US. If you are changing colours, then you would chain 5 and join with a slip stitch and start with a standing stitch for the beginning of the next round. And I just joined with a slip stitch, didn't I? Okay. That's better. So all that does is it puts us back a step. So instead of being right here, we're just back this way a little bit. So the next round, we're going to fix all this wobble. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to do just like we did before, except we've got 5 chain spaces this time. So insert your hook around behind there, double crochet UK, single crochet US. Now we're going to do 2 stitches in this 2 chain space, 5 chain space, sorry, double crochets UK, single crochets US. Then we're going to do a half treble UK, half double US into the middle stitch of these 5 below, but again over that 5 chain space still. Then we're going to do 2 stitches in that 5 chain space again. And then we are going to gather these again, so in one 5 chain space, out the other, double crochet UK, single crochet US, and repeat that all the way around. So 2 in the space, 1, 2, and a half in the middle stitch, that round down below, then 2 more stitches in the 2 chain space, and then start again with your gathering. And you can see that that's pulling it all into line quite well. So I'll do that all the way around and come and show you what happens next. So there you go, I've made my way all the way around. You can see nice and flat again, not wobbly at all. So I just need to join with a slip stitch to that first stitch. And there you have it. Round 4 done. No, round 5 done, I beg your pardon. Okay, it all gets fairly simple from here on in. We're going to start with a chain 3 starting chain or a false stitch. Then we're going to do 2 trebles UK, doubles US in the same space as our slip stitch. 1, must be as annoying for you as it is for me. Sorry. Okay, then we're going to skip 2 stitches. We're going to do a half treble UK, half double US in the next 7 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we'll skip 2 stitches. And that is the rest of our side done. So the next bit is our corner. So we're skipping 2 stitches, 1, 2. The next one should be the one that gathered our popcorn together. And we're going to do 3 trebles UK, 1 chain, 3 trebles UK, all in that same stitch. 1, trebles UK, doubles US, I don't know if I said that, I'm sorry. 2, 3, 1 chain and 3 more. Three. Okay, so that's our corner and our side. I'll do that all the way around and show you what's next. Okay, repeat's done. I just need to do 3 stitches in the same space as our first stitch. Trebles UK, doubles US. If you're changing colours, chain 1, join with a slip stitch to your first stitch. I'm going to join with a double crochet UK, single crochet US, as I'm keeping going with the same colour. Very small difference, but it just means that we're kind of in the middle of that 1 chain space instead of being over here at the top of the first stitch there. Righty-ho. Alright, so now we're going to do the next round. We're going to chain 3, starting chain or false stitch. And now we're going to do a treble UK WS in the loop behind the V for all the stitches along the side. Now what that is, sorry, so this is the normal place where we work into a stitch. But if we just go, turn it over a little bit, you'll see there's a loop here. That is where we're going to work all of our stitches along this round. It's a little bit trickier in these trebles or doubles, but in the half stitches, it's really quite simple. It's quite a large loop. Okay, so that's what we'll be working into all the way along. And what that does is that gives us this, the V is sitting here on top, but it's very flat. Not like back post stitches that create a bit of a ridge. It's very, very flat, but still a pretty cool effect. So I'll show you how that works in action. Okay, so we're going to do there's 13 stitches along the side. So the first 3, the very first one is always the most difficult because it's a false stitch for me. If it's a chain 3, just find any sort of loop on the back if you did a starting chain instead of a false stitch. Sorry, it's particularly difficult through the camera because there's like a slight delay and it makes it very tricky. It's like my hands are further away from my body than they really are. Okay, so that's the first one done. The rest should be relatively easy. 2. Dropped it. 3, and these half ones will be much easier. So it's this large line going across here. I promise you it's not as difficult as I'm making it look. I will continue on to the end and I will show you what the corner looks like. Okay, so I've done my side in the loop behind the V on all of those stitches. Now our corner in the 1 chain space is simply 1 treble, 1 chain on treble UK terms, chain 2, sorry, so it's treble, chain 2, treble in the 1 chain space if you UK terms, or double, chain 2, double in the 1 chain space. And just repeat that all the way around and I'll do that and show you what's next. Okay, so I've done all of my repeats. I just need to do a stitch in the same space as my first stitch, which is right here. The treble UK, double US. If you're changing colours, chain 2, join with a slip stitch. If you're not changing colours, then just chain 1 and join with a double crochet UK, single crochet US. Okay, pardon me while I turn the page. Alright, now the next 2 rounds are identical, so I'll just show you the one because they're exactly the same. Just have more stitches in the next one, obviously. So we start with chain 3 starting chain or a false stitch. Then we're going to do a front post treble UK or a front post double US around every stitch along the side. And the corners are all 1 stitch, a treble UK, a double US, chain 2, and then a treble UK WS. So it's just front post stitches all the way along the sides, and our corners are in the 2 chain spaces. And I have missed a stitch then. Too busy looking at my pattern and fumbling. So let me just begin that again. Front post stitch around each stitch along the side, and in the corners a stitch, chain 2 and a stitch. And it's the same for the next round as well. So I'll do both of those rounds and come back and show you how to do the very last one, which is super easy. Okay, so here I am almost at the end of round 9. I just need to do a stitch in the same space as our first stitch, and then chain 2, join with a slip stitch if you're changing colours. If you're not changing colours, chain 1, join with a double crochet UK or a single crochet US. And the last round is just a double crochet round, UK or single crochet US round, so very, very easy. So we start with a stitch over the joining stitch, which is in that big hole, and then just a stitch in every stitch along the side, and the corners are 1 stitch, chain 2, 1 stitch, double crochets UK, single crochets US, and we're going to join off, finish off with chain 2 and a slip stitch. So I will finish this off and have a little bit of a chat about size and what you can do if you need to adjust it. So I'll see you soon. Okay, so there you have Maine. Sorry, I forgot the name of it for a minute there. From my Siren's Atlas collection in the Bendigo Woolen Mills cotton, and this is in the Cascade Ultra Pema cotton. You can see the Bendigo is a touch bigger, even though they're equivalent yarns. It will benefit from a quick block, just straighten out those edges. If you need to make it bigger, add another round of the last one. If you need to make it smaller, leave off the last one. But there you go. There we have Maine from my Siren's Atlas collection. Make sure you check out spincushions.com for some more crochet fun. Thanks very much. Bye.